Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening for meditation, mindfulness, and manifestation. Our fearless leader, Petra Weldis, will be leading us in our meditation this evening. We're very excited to have her back. I'm Bobby. I am going to be monitoring and moderating here, so if we'll have time after the meditation. Dr. Petra might share a few words with us, and then there will be time for questions and comments and a little bit of conversation and sharing. So you can either raise your hand, or I will unmute you and bring you into the room, or you can put a question in the chat and I can read it into the room. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Petra.
Yay, thanks, Bobby. All right. It's so lovely to be together on a Wednesday night in July, wherever we are, wherever we're coming from in this moment. And so, so today we're going to do a meditation opportunity to just sink in to the presence. And I'm going to use a visualization for us to do that. A guided visualization for us to do that. And so, let's begin. Just inviting you to take a moment to breathe, take a breath, and allowing that breath to begin to settle us. And just letting the breath, the music, become an anchor. An anchor that allows our whole system to become more still, more quiet, more present. Right now, in this moment, there is nowhere to go. There's nothing we need to do. There's nothing we need to accomplish or figure out. But just to be here. And so as we take that next breath and release anything that we're carrying around, we release any tension in the body. Notice where you might be carrying it. Scan those usual suspects and just breathe and release. Intentional breath and intentional release. And now I'd like to invite you to bring your active imagination to the forefront. That part of you that allows you to make images or creates feelings and sensations, where you imagine yourself walking through a field, beautiful mountain field, meadow of grass, flowers, and a glorious sun that's just the right temperature, not too hot, not too cold. And perhaps you notice that there are some butterflies floating from flower to flower. You're surrounded by mountains, snow-capped peaks. It's peaceful here. Beautiful. And so as you imagine yourself here in this beautiful meadow, You see that there's a path that leads you into the forest just there, off in the distance. And as you stroll through the meadow and you find yourself peaceful and at ease, knowing that you're completely safe. And the woods there become closer, and you notice that the path makes its way under the trees. And you follow into the cool, to the shade. It smells different here. And the sun comes through and dapples on the forest floor. What you notice is that you keep walking. There are different butterflies here. But it's so pleasant and green, and vibrantly alive. And you just are easy as you stroll through these woods, safe. And it's still and quiet, so peaceful. And you notice just ahead of you, the path makes a sharp turn to the right, going behind some big boulders, rugged and strong, and maybe you put your hand on and you feel the cool as you walk by them. And you turn the corner, and right there you notice a beautiful opening beckoning you. And as you step out into the opening and you realize the forest spreads out on either side, there before you is a beautiful, quiet pond. And as you look out over this beautiful water and how still it is, you see the perfect reflection of the mountains across the way and the trees here on the side. The white clouds that sail across the beautiful blue sky. A perfect, peaceful place. You take a deep breath. You release anything that maybe you've carried with you on this path. Because here you breathe in such peace, an unruffled surface, still and quiet forest, strong and steady mountains. And this pond in front of you is surprisingly big. And it reaches all the way down to the roots of the mountains, crystal clear. And so you sit here on the side in this rock that's here just for you, and remove your shoes and your socks. You might notice whether you remove your clothes or find yourself in a bathing suit. And you step into this cool and quiet water, soft and sandy bottom. You make your way into the pond. Slightly cool temperature, just perfect for the warmth of the sun. And as you get in about waist deep, just roll over onto your back and float out into the middle of the pool. You can float here perfectly. Water holds you up. You just feel yourself supported. Every bit of you, from your head to your heels, stretching out your arms and your hands. Every bit of you supported. You float. And floating here, you draw in the peace with each breath. Nothing is required. Everything is given. This place of perfect peace, place of deep safety, stillness. Just allow yourself to rest here. Nourished by the presence of the forest, the beauty of the mountains, the warmth of the sun, the way that your body is lifted by the water. Still and quiet, at ease. Because you know that you are a spiritual being. And that you are fully capable. Just inviting yourself now to feel yourself sink into the pool, this beautiful pond. Breathe, knowing that you breathe the living water. Feeling yourself utterly cradled and wrapped. Because you breathe the living water, you are not only supported on the outside, you are filled on the inside. Everything that is needed in this moment is present. And allow with each out breath that's living water to clear out, cleanse anything that is unlike this peace. Release any stress, worry, fear, or tension. They have no place here. The water just washes them away as you float, cradled and wrapped in this beautiful pond. Each breath releasing, each breath letting go, each breath nourished and cleansed. And because each breath is cleansing, you notice that your body naturally floats back to the surface. And you rest there, fully present. And all of life is fully present to you. There's nowhere to go, nothing that needs doing. For everything in this moment is that perfect peace and perfect balance, and exquisite harmony. And so as you find yourself floating in this pool, take a moment to anchor this peace, anchor it into your soul. Anchor the memory of this place into your consciousness. Or you can come back here anytime. For it is always available. This perfect pond, this place of peace. So knowing that this is always available, find yourself gently floating back, slowly to the edge of the pond. And as your feet touch the sand, a moment of gratitude. A moment of awareness that all of this is not only out there, but it's always and already in here, right where you are. And so you quietly find your way out of the pool and sit back down on the rock and imagine yourself dry and perfectly clothed again. And as you put on your socks and your shoes, look back out at your pond, the mountains, and the forest that stretches out on either side. This is your place. Safe, peaceful, and always available. For the presence is always here and always now. So knowing that you take it with you wherever you go, you find yourself strolling back through the beautiful forest, taking the path back out to a glorious meadow. And as you stand back out here in the meadow and you look around and you mark in your consciousness where this path begins. And you promise yourself, I'll come back. For this is always here, always available for you. Knowing that that is so, we simply breathe that peace and that stillness right into this moment, right here, wherever we are seated, listening to the sound of my voice and the music. Knowing that that peace and presence is always available and always present. We breathe ourselves right into this present moment. And with a breath, when you are ready, you may open your eyes. Look around the room, wherever you're seated. And feel yourself perfectly at peace, completely at home, safe and at ease, right where you are. I think sometimes I forget how available that space is. I get busy, lots of stuff going on. Sometimes there's challenges at work or drama at home or just my own whatever stuff that's coming up. And it feels like something has to be fixed or something has to be done and I got to figure it out. And I can feel it in my body, that energy that runs through, and we give that energy a lot of names. We can call it frustration or anxiety or upset or just tasked oriented, I'm going to get it done, or lots of things. And that energy can move through our bodies. And for me, it can also get in the way and shut things down or close them off, or and even if I get stuff done, I can feel drained and exhausted afterwards. And this meditation is the one that I use to remind myself that it's always available. Not just the breath, but the presence of life itself, the peace, the refilling. And the master teacher talked about drinking from the living waters, and the Buddha talked about breathing in the stillness. And these are not things that are magical or difficult. It takes practice to create the space in our consciousness. It takes imagination to make it real. And then each time we do a meditation like that, or we remind ourselves that, it's right here, right now. The energy drains out of our body and we can breathe in that peace and find ourselves not only peaceful, but more grounded and more prepared to handle whatever needs to be handled, to take care of whatever needs to be taken care of, to be mindful of actually what's going on as opposed to whatever we might be anxious about or how we're talking about it to ourselves. And I think this is what it means when so many spiritual traditions talk about being mindful and practicing the presence. Partly it's being present to whatever is. Yeah, that's a part of it, being present to what is. But practicing the presence also means reminding ourselves and becoming awake and aware of the fact that that infinite peace and that infinite source of all that we need is actually present right here, right now. It's palpably present. And so to practice the presence is to take the moment to be mindful of what is in the moment and then remember, yeah, peace is here too. Intelligence is here. Wisdom is here. Everything that's needed is here. And we can breathe ourselves into that state of alignment, into that state of consciousness that is awake to that peace, that stillness that we find in the woods or in our own backyard or where on our meditation cushion or in a meditation like this, a guided visualization. It's actually already always present. And so 1, remembering it, 2, waking back up to it, 3, doing some sort of a process. Yes, sometimes just a breath is enough. Other times we may have to guide ourselves back into a space that we have within us that realigns ourselves with this truth, with this presence. Yeah. So that is, that's what we're doing today. And this is an opportunity now for anyone to share a comment or make has a question. Something that we might want to talk about. Bobby will be happy to tell you how you can participate. So Bobby, I'll turn it over to you.
Hi guys. Just raise your hand or you can put a question in the chat and I can bring it in. Right now, nobody has any hands raised.
Well, we're going to let you see, or you can just share. How was that for you doing that kind of a guided meditation? Was there anything that stood in your way of experiencing it? Any other sharing that comes from that? We'll just see for a moment. Or maybe we're just all still floating in that pool of peace. I know I am.
Brenda has a question or comment.
Great. Hi,
Good
Brenda.
Good evening.
Good
Good evening, Dr. Petra and Clan.
Hi. How are you?
It was wonderful to be reminded how easy it is to step into the presence. And when I do so, how wonderful on all levels that I feel. My curiosity is around my observance of I'm presuming a habituated or habit or enculturation that I don't allow myself to go there. Now, I know this works, and I know it's always better when I do. And yet I observe the old pattern that I don't. So, and yet it's just a breath away, a thought away, an image or feeling away.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's interesting. It's an important question to ask ourselves, Brenda, and to be curious about, because I think, sometimes I think it's a lot of different things, and usually a combination thereof for so many of us. I think we're enculturated to achieve and to do. What did you do today? What did you, and then we get into work. What did you produce today? What did you accomplish today? And we get a lot of value out of all of that. We also, I think, get a lot of aliveness out of worrying about things and being anxious about them. I think that we are also familiar. There's a family, I guess, pattern, culture, consciousness that, at least in my family, you worried about things. That's how you proved that you cared about them. And the more you worried about them, the more, I don't know, you were participating in it, which just, it's tiring and it's anxious making. And so, it's curious how we have, and of course, let's just say, add to it, we are biologically designed to scan for threats. That's our biology is constantly looking for threats. And what do we need to do to be safe and secure? And that's why, right? That's why doing these things is called a spiritual practice, because we have to practice. We have to retrain ourselves to move into this direction, as opposed to the sort of habituated biological directions and then cultural and family ways of engaging. And it's why the spiritual practice is so important, having a regular meditation practice and a regular opportunity to take the breath and center ourselves, the regular opportunity to remind ourselves that it is really this close and this easy. And then we can move. It's not like we're not going to produce or achieve or do. Of course, we're going to keep doing things, but now we can move from a much more peaceful place, a place that really says, yes, it's whatever it is, we're going to, we have what we need. We're going to move through it. It's going to be okay. And we can engage with everything more open-heartedly, more open energetically than tight and closed down and pushing. So it's a great question. So I think those are some of the generic answers, right? And then I think we do have to be curious with ourselves. And thinking about it, I don't know always that it's that important. Why do I forget? At some point, we know all the possible reasons of why we forget. I think the more useful question then is, what do we need to do to remember? What do we need to do to remember? What new practices or habits or ways of things that we can help ourselves, we're basically making a new groove in our brains, a new pattern in our thinking, and a new habit, so that we reach for peace as opposed to a cookie. Or we reach for being centered as opposed to having a drama response. It's, yeah. So the more useful question, I think, is, how can I move to this place more easily? What can I do on a regular basis so that this becomes my habitual response? I think that's the useful question. And the last thing I'll say is, one of the reasons why questions are so important like that, and why wonder and curiosity is so important, and I'm glad you used that word, Brenda, is because there's some really interesting psychological studies that say there might actually be a better way of affirming something positive. And it's not just stating, I am peaceful, I am peaceful, I am peaceful, I am peaceful. That's a technique that works. There's no question about it. But our brains are designed to answer questions, right? And that very part of our brain that is looking for threats, it's a question. Is this a threat? What do I need to do? How do I make myself safe? And it's, the brain is literally asking itself these questions, and it's finding answers for them. And so we can use that. And there are some studies that say this is as powerful as using affirmations. How can I be more peaceful? How can I remember to move into this state? What can I do to move into this state? And the brain actually has to now find answers to that question for you and start feeding you that information, right? And not, oh, how can I ever be peaceful, right? That's not the question we're asking. The question is, how can I be more peaceful? How can I remember? This is an honest answer, and we are expecting our brain to provide us with solutions to this question. And it's a very powerful way also to begin to rewrite those patterns in our consciousness. So, yeah, thanks for asking the question, and thanks for sharing your experience. I really appreciate it.
So for me, my mindfulness is about being aware of when I'm tripped, when my brain is going to, what do I need to do to be safe, and stepping back and centering, so that I'm not reacting or reacting, but I'm taking a breath and responding from a place of being grounded. And I love there's only one life, that life is God's life, that life is perfect, and that life is my life now, because that takes me out of the relative and puts me back in the absolute.
Yes, right. Regrounds us into that deeper spiritual truth. Yeah. And that's the thing. We all need our touchstones, our techniques, our reminders. None of them are magic. They're things that we do that are a way of practicing being in the presence, right? It's a way of practicing. It's no different than if you were going to go play tennis and your coach went out there, said, okay, you're going to go practice your serves today. And then you start doing it. And then maybe you go home and you visualize yourself with your serve and you just keep practicing it. And then that's how you get better, by doing it over and over and over again. And keep reaching for the thing that we know that gives us that. For some people, it's a words or an affirmation or an image or a breath or a feeling, right? We're all a little different how we do that. But
And whatever the practice is what's building the new neural grooves.
Right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And you're exactly right, Bobby. It starts with being mindful, right? And whether we're mindful in 1 minute or 50 minutes or 2 days it's okay. But all of a sudden to be mindful, wow, this has run away with me, whatever this is, or I've really gotten myself caught in. So let me remember that there's another way that I could be. There's another, I think of it as my come from place. There's another energetic from which I could come to the situation. And what is it that regrounds me into that place that I want to come from? Yeah. Beautiful. All right. Well, I don't see any other hands. Anything anybody else wants to say, or we will bring our beautiful time together to a close. I'm so grateful to be together with you on a Wednesday night, Wednesday late afternoon, I guess, here in Texas, wherever you are. And so thank you, Bobby, for being a support here. And we will look forward to seeing you again next week, same time, 5 p.m. Central Time on a Wednesday, and we'll do a little meditation and have some conversation. Thanks so much for joining me today. Bye for now.